Welcome to episode 10 of the New Media Lab. I am your host, Rob Southgate. I am so excited about this episode. Today, we have Lys Galati. She is the founder of the Sphinx Group. They do public relations, sales, marketing, all that stuff we need in new media that a lot of us try and do on our own. She has some real answers, some real insights for us, and hopefully, she'll lead you down a path to success. So let's jump right into this. Lys, welcome to the New Media Lab. I am so thrilled to have you here.
I'm thrilled to be here.
So let's give just a little bit of background. The way we found each other, I reached out on Facebook and just said, hey, Facebook community, does anybody know anything about PR, marketing? I mean, as somebody with a podcast network, a burgeoning YouTube channel, this seems like something really important. And actually, I was reaching out to you because of a theater that a friend of mine owns called Edge Theater. I thought he could use some PR. And Russell Lissow, comic book writer, wrote back and said, hey, you should meet Lys. And boom, that's how this happened.
And it's exciting, good things will happen after that for sure.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, I'm completely excited about this. But after talking to you, I mean, we had like a half-hour conversation, and I thought, why didn't I record this for New Media Lab? Because so many people that I interact with don't know anything about this. I feel like I'm speaking another language to them, and you are speaking another language to me. So this is a chance to kind of talk about what PR and marketing and sales, what you do. And you specialize in pop culture, right?
Right. Correct.
So let's hear, what is your group, and give me a little background.
Not a problem. And what I talk to people about when I first meet them is basically we're the geek Sherpas. We know the lay of the land, the language, and how to get you where you need to go. And very much today's culture, exactly what you're talking about, the different languages, is absolutely the number one barrier into pretty much everything. Geek culture specifically has a very specific, unique dialect, shall we say. And when you're speaking, you can be saying the exact same thing in the geek market. And then if you go to, say, book trade, you can say the exact same words and it's translated completely differently. And that's, as geek culture kind of takes over everything, that's becoming more and more of an issue. We started 15 years ago. Today, actually, August of 2016 will be 16 years. And we cover everything pop culture. So that's everything from comic books to video games to toys, horror stuff, young adult novels, everything that hits that genre. And, PR, sales, and marketing. Those three things are they kind of go hand in hand, but no one, and I can say this as a professional, there is no one definition for any of those terms. So when people come to me and they say, well, we need PR, sometimes it's more 80% PR, 20% marketing. And so, I mean, that's the funnier part of when people ask about it, is because it's kind of like voodoo. We see it in the movies. We don't really know anybody who actually does it. And we know some terms, but we don't really know if we're using them right. It's the exact same thing. And I can tell everyone that I interact with, I am not a brain surgeon. This is not hard work, but the thing that you really need to do is be observant and incredibly empathetic, because what you are doing is making other people do things. And that in and of itself is both maddening and exciting and occasionally exhilarating when you find something new that works. But in today's world, we do not want to think in an empathetic manner when it comes to our day-to-day interactions. And to do proper PR, sales, and marketing in any definition, you really, really need to. So that's the thing that we kind of stand out for. We are like the nerdy, empathetic, geeky kids who, do awesome things, but in the way we do them, no one understands it.
Well, it's funny because on our first conversation, it actually, what you just said goes back to that. A lot of what we were talking about is how a lot of people don't understand what PR is, what marketing actually is. And even at that, it's so hard to define. It's one of these, like, I don't even know, it's unattainable almost what it is, but it is so vital. It is an intangible that is so necessary to succeed in getting your message out.
Well, and it's kind of, they all go, I look at it this way. Marketing is how you begin the conversation. You solidify the conversation with you hear about something, and that's marketing. You decide that you want to know more, and that is public relations. Sealing the deal is sales. I encourage everyone to define sales as in the end transaction. And I think sales has an incredibly bad terminology, because to sell someone something, if that transaction has not already been predisposed to occur, has a negative connotation, that someone is selling you something that they've somehow conned you. No, good sales is much like good PR, that it's matchmaking. It's an opportunity. It's taking a product and a person and saying, you two would do really, really well together. And frankly, that's all public relations is instead of saying, hey, buy X thing, it's, hey, you should talk to so-and-so. You'd like them. It's very, very similar. And, the three things are very, our culture, in whether it's geek or regular, is changing dramatically by day to day. And we are communicating in all sorts of different ways. And so it's really important to kind of see the similarities in things instead of the differences, because it's not, there is no algorithm that's a silver bullet. There is no secret formula that anyone's sitting on. The problem and riddle that needs to be solved is just simply people. And the average right now, the average person interacts with 4,000 ad impressions a day. So it always makes me laugh when people are confused as to why something isn't going viral, or why something hasn't been more explosive. Because flat out, we are not those special little snowflakes that, won a trophy for everything. No one cares. So you have to make people care. And in that vein, it's understanding, the times of day when people pay the most attention to what you're doing. It's understanding that after 5 o'clock, that if someone's home, we still spend so much time at work that when they're home, they're probably not on the internet. If they are, they're gaming. If they are, they're streaming content. But, sales, emails, things like that, those are really much more, Monday morning when people get back to work, there's a reason Cyber Monday has taken off. And so we need to actually understand what other people are doing, when they're doing it, and why they're doing it. And oh my goodness, the why. I cannot even stress that enough. Our culture is now changing to storytelling, and that's all it is. And in some ways, it's not even necessarily changing. We've always done it. We're just doing it even more. We are communicating now more in pictures than in words. Hence the cats are taking over the internet. And funny, cute animal pictures are some of the most circulated content there is. And so remember that every picture you put up can be interpreted, 14, 15, 16 different ways. So you have to balance out what pictures are you using as content. And it's wonderful for something to go viral, so to speak, but it's also not sustainable. So what are you going to do when all of this stuff, stops? You can't sustain being viral. You can't sustain explosive. All you can do is slow and steady growth, and that is the secret to any success for sure.
And that might be the hardest thing. We've been at this for about 2.5 years at this point, and for us, it's a commitment we made in the beginning, and we said it's going to be slow. We're going to take our time with it. But I can't tell you how many podcasters and bloggers I have run into who gave themselves a timeline. 6 months, and I'm going to be a star. Well, yeah, that's not going to work. And a lot of them, I always feel we're moving too slowly. And it's not that we're not gaining popularity. I always feel that I'm not doing enough because I keep seeing so many opportunities. But you know what? It's not being slow and not getting things done. It's taking your time and knowing that things take time to grow. Twitter's a great example.
Yeah.
That first 1,000 followers is forever. But everyone I've talked to who's crossed that threshold says, yeah, after that, it seems to open up. And then after 10,000, it really opens up. It's like you just got to stay in there, and you can't, go, I'm not putting my efforts here. I'm going to, you need to pick the ones that are good, the avenues that are good, and stay with them and be honest and be real in them.
Yeah, and you touched on a really excellent point. Genuine, that word. You can tell when someone isn't portraying themselves accurately, and you can tell when they are not being genuine. And that translates in words, that translates in pictures, that translates in everything. And the whole concept of no coverage is bad coverage, that's absolute crap. And you forcing someone to do something that they did not have a good time in and airing it is absolutely catastrophic.
Right.
And we pick up on that and we pick up on that as a culture. And that, I mean, I really think it goes back to that whole empathy thing of why would you want to associate with something that just obviously, whoever was involved wasn't having a good time. And we have it in a really interesting negative connotation now too. There was a great article about how many spokespeople now, are having, either child abuse or sexual assault cases now, and who are that we now associate. I mean, Bill Cosby, no matter legally or not alleged, I'm not even going to go there.
Right.
But he is
the public perception of him right now is damaged.
But Jell-O pudding, I'm sorry, he's part and parcel. And the fact of the matter is, even when these spokespeople no longer, work with the brand, that what does it mean? How do you come back from that? And that's, those are interesting things that we're starting to have to pop up in today's culture. You can't get away from it. So it's whether people are being genuine. Jared from Subway, totally everybody wanted to be part of that story. If he can lose weight, so can I. And now it's this horrifying, have I lost something of myself because this person, had some negative connotations? And we're seeing at a time when we have no counterculture. So the only culture we have that is our celebrities that we're associating ourselves with. So their successes are our successes or our potential successes. And in that same time, now we're having to deal with the fact of their failures might be ours too. And so it's both humanizing and horrifying all at the same time.
Yeah. And somebody who's trying to break in through, YouTube or podcasting really needs to be aware of that. They really need to look at themselves and see, what they're willing to put out there. Because I know for us, we've had these conversations, like we've had somebody approach us about doing a documentary about us. And we asked the question, is there anything that we don't want put out there? And yeah, I mean, everyone has their private stuff, but not Jared private stuff, but everyone has their stuff. Like, I don't want them following me when I go to the bathroom, but otherwise there's no skeletons that I'm afraid of. It's like, that's something you got to ask yourself before you get involved. And what you want out of it, definitely. I mean, if I wanted to be a spokesperson at some point, I definitely want to make sure I'm pretty clean.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. But it's also the thing that you have to, I see a lot of people who will open up on the internet and use it to boost their popularity, celebrity, etc. And in that regard, it's not sustainable either, because you have to maintain that. And at some point, you've made yourself as available as possible, and people will always want more.
Yeah.
And well, the thing that's becoming so important is opening that communication and then maintaining it. And so you have to think long term. And the hilarious part, personally for my company, it really was only in the last year that I decided to be more public. And so it's kind of hilarious because the company either everybody knows me or knows of me, but they don't have any kind of personality to go along with it. They have an energy level that the company maintains, but me, myself, personally, you're my second podcast. So,
really?
And yes, you are my second podcast. And we, the company was always founded to make other people shine, to make other people come into the spotlight. And if people want to know more about myself personally, my husband works with the company as well. He is a design person. If you want to get to know us, that's fine. But it was never something that I brought myself out to be the face of the company. And I have finally hit the point where I'm like, this is necessary in today's world to grow things. And so I'm having a blast doing it.
We had a very similar conversation in the beginning. My wife is very private. Martha does not even like to be photographed or anything. And, in the beginning, it was like, okay, I'll podcast, but I really want to be behind the scenes. And that has not really changed. She does prefer to be behind the scenes, but she said right away, you need to just be the face of the company and you need to just put it out there. And I do. And it's tough sometimes, if I come from a place where, I make a lot of jokes and I like to tease people and I have fun with that, like the barbs back and forth. And she's like, you got to be careful what you say because even though, yes, it's as if a comedian's saying it, there are people that are thinking that's really you. So you've got to be really you. And we do 3 hours of live shows every weekend and I have to be myself 3 hours a weekend where I want to make the jokes and I can't. So it's tough.
For me, I have the exact opposite occasionally. I won't say the exact opposite. When I'm interacting with people and somebody will either swear more or there's colloquialisms that pop into conversation, then suddenly I'm like, oh, sure, I can be myself again. And the thing that every public figure and every client that we've had, the more genuine you can be, the more powerful you can be. But it's that horrible mix of you have to see what the limits are. We're all telling our own story, and it's just a question of doing it in a way. And again, this comes to the matchmaking. If you are telling your story to someone who's going to be offended, maybe you are doing the wrong opportunity. We saying, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to everybody. That's not worth your time.
Right.
You want to put yourself into a situation where, the people who are going to listen to what you're doing, really, really are interested with, this is a cool thing. So it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting time to do all this stuff. And I'm going to be doing a live stream interview at C2E2 in March. And yes, I'm completely freaking out. So it'll be really fun.
So who are you doing that with?
C2E2 itself.
Excellent. Well, I will see you there and you'll have to come see our panel and you're going to be promoting it because we are going to have you do some stuff for us. Now let's get into that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, okay, I think the best way to handle this is to take a hypothetical. We'll take podcast A, because we own a podcast network, we usually start there. Yep. But this can apply to blogging, to YouTube, to anything. It's just how you framework it. But we'll start with podcasts. And actually, one of the questions that came in was from Lil from the League of Geeks. He wrote in and said, what are the best avenues to reach new listeners? I think you're going to kind of answer that in this scenario. So let's take a show. We'll take the Lil show, okay? Mm-hmm. And they have the content. They do it well. And the few listeners they have are very loyal. But they need to reach a bigger audience. What do you do with that?
Forums and bloggers. Find a blogger who has similar interests. See if you can get a mention on there, as well as, and forums are dying out. So this is a limited time thing. I'd say they're always going to be around in some regard, but it is something that really has got about another 5 to 10 years. The collapse of Reddit, where it's, just kind of tanked where it used to be. Many of the forums, NeoGAF, things like that. It's just because it's so hard to moderate these things. And it's also, simply the fact of so many people have become so irate and kind of almost confrontational online that it's just not worth most people's efforts anymore. But forums are a great place because people you go to a forum to interact with the community. So they're actively looking for new content, new things to see, new things to do. But the blogger opportunity is again, another really good thing, getting someone who already has the audience that you need to talk about what you're doing.
And how do you find that blogger? Do they go to somebody like you and you say, okay, here's who we're going to target and here's how we connect you? Or for me, do I go on and I find somebody who, I do a Marvel podcast called Enough Said. So I look up Marvel bloggers, or how do I connect to that community?
That's exactly right. It is Marvel bloggers, Google, any type of, you start with the most the highest titles, or the highest audience titles, and you start there. And yes, like a lot of what I do is detective work and research. And I mean, I'll give you a great example. I'm working right now with somebody who wants to get coverage of police, like actual police based off, one of their titles. And I got to sit on the internet and go, okay, where do police go for information? And going through and finding that there's basically 6, publications, a couple different websites, and then you find that one of them is a cartoonist. And okay, that's close to comic books, and I'll start there. And everybody has this idea.
I know the guy who does the jail comic books. So you did.
There's like 8 of them. That narrows down nothing. But there you go. It's a lot of research, and we have this idea. Everybody says, well, I tried that. I did it 3 times and it didn't work. No, you do it until somebody tells you to stop. And it is incredibly masochistic on some days, and some days it's awesome. But it's also a lot of fun because the best example I can give you, I had a comic that had a very it sort of had references to Hispanic culture, and I reached out to a magazine that covers Hispanic culture and said, "Hey, do you want exclusive content, art, etc.?" And they said, "Sure, that'd be awesome." And that was literally 10 years ago, and I still interact with that magazine. So even if the things don't naturally blog, or naturally fit together, a lot of times the things that you don't think fit perfectly at first actually turn out to be pretty awesome, because it just opens up to a completely different audience that you would never think. But yes, it's a lot of research, and it's a lot of knocking on doors and saying, hello, this is why you should talk, and this is why you should cover it. And you keep up until someone says yes.
So is this something that, because of what you do, because of what Sphinx does,
mm-hmm.
So we'll take my Marvel show again, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Would I go to you and say, okay, we need to reach these bloggers, and then you run with it, and then you come back and say, okay, here's what we got. And at that point, do I reach out? Do you reach out? How does that look? Or do you suggest, hey, you're small, do a Google search for bloggers, find them, start making friends? How do you handle that?
It can go either way. And one of the things that we offer, the reason I started the company was not to make $1 billion. It was to maintain my personal freedom. And so, PR traditionally is an incredibly expensive opportunity. We do have numerous things to kind of entry points for people. One of the things that we do for companies, especially smaller companies, is do kind of a one-time consultation. And what that means and what that incorporates is, going over a website, going over, whether it's a podcast, whether it's, a online store, whatever, going over it with a fine-tooth comb, critiquing it, coming up with lists of, kind of grassroots campaign ideas, as well as we provide you with a minimal press list to kind of get started, and that's $500. And that is, something to kind of, we tried to basically create a springboard for people that, okay, you're starting out, you don't have a lot of cash, you do have some time. And you can do kind of exactly like we're talking. We would give somebody, okay, let's go over your podcast. Here's things that may work. Here's things that don't. Go over your potential places to promote it, potential ways to promote it, and then a list of, people to interact with, to possibly do it. And so that's kind of like the thing that we do for smaller people. Depending on a person's budget, we can do all of it. You can say, here's your task, go make it happen. But sometimes some people are like, I just need, names, and then I can do it. And that's fine too. I mean, we do create for each of our clients basically specialized packages. There's no one contract. There's no one way for people to work together. And I think that's really important because no company is the same. No product's the same. And so, and flat out, my favorite in today's day and age is no company works the same internally, with the preference of some people to work at home and some people to telecommute and some people to go into offices. The majority of the people we work with now everybody is everywhere. One person I'm dealing with right now is in Australia with half of their creative team in the US and the other half in the UK. And so for her one-time consultation, it needed to keep that in mind. And so, it's something that while it's very nebulous at first, it suits our clients better, that they know what they're getting is tailored, not only for their product, but for themselves.
Very good. Boy, that was a lot of information, Liz. So
that's what everybody says the moment I open my mouth.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's why I had you on. This was the conversation we had the other day. So press releases. Let's talk about those for a second.
Sure.
So, okay, we're doing our Geektastic Cage match at C2E2, and we want to send out a press release. And I know you and I talked about this a little bit, but this is for the audience. So now I know we could hire you to write a press release, or we can write a press release. What would you focus on in a press release? Would it be, hey, Geektastic Cage match is coming to C2E2? Would it be about the people? What is usually the focus? How do you, I struggle with that with press releases. Like, what do I tell them? I've got so many things I want to say. What do I tell them?
What you say and how you say it are actually two very different things for press releases, and there's a little history here that will help you. In 2008, when the economy crashed, press releases completely changed. Completely. Before 2008, it was something that was very much, you are pitching press people to do a larger story. And so you obviously had the facts in it, but you're usually going to have some emotional content to it. And hopefully, people will say, hey, I want to do more. After the economy crashed, it became content. The majority of press releases are cut and pasted and put up on websites within minutes of someone getting it. So that's where now you have to look at it not as a potential news person looking at a potential story. You need to look at it as, what are people actually going to read all of? And no one reads everything anymore. So, I encourage that all of your facts need to be top loaded, because good luck if someone's going to read to the end of it. And, it's about speed. So make sure that the format that you put in is something that, easily, PDFs are not good because not everybody has a PDF editor. And so now it's about speed, content, and then keeping an eye on the fact that, 5,000 people are not going to read this. So you need to make sure that whatever you say, it's nothing different. If you can argue and order a drink in a bar, you can do this. It's the same concept. It's that you're not going to have a conversation about Euclidean geometry in a press release. It needs to be fun. It needs to be succinct, and it needs to be loud.
And I'm going to ask this because I think I got this out of some of that. It almost is like you're writing it for them, correct?
Yep.
So you need to actually be on your game as far as what you're writing, so that they can just easily copy and paste and throw it in there, and then their writer can add 3 sentences and call it theirs, right?
3 sentences if you're lucky. And the thing that you also want to keep in mind is, again, what we're going back to about being genuine. Everybody has a panel at C2E2. Everybody has a product that they're promoting. Why are you different? You want to make it's a press release now in a lot of ways is a sell sheet. You're making an argument for something without having anyone there to argue back. And you need to seal the deal before anyone interacts with you at all. So you want to make this as absolutely, as simple as you can as to why someone should run with it.
All right. I have a question here from Phil Parrish. He does a number of podcasts for us. He's on Before the Bat, and he does a lot of comic book stuff for us, and he blogs. So I put this out there to our group, and I said, hey, do you have any questions for Liz? This one, I have answered this, but I want to see what your answer is to it. He says, what's the best way for an unknown to get interviews with celebrities?
I actually do it in person, and
Wait, do the interview in person? Do the interview in person?
Yes. It's actually I can count on one hand. There are probably about 4 people that I know of who do this. Be as nice and polite as possible and ask for the interview. And but it seems to work better in person than online or via phone or things like that. Go to the person at shows, go to the person at events, whatever, and maybe reach out to their organizer or reach out to them specifically before the show. Say that you're going to be there, and then do it in person. And be the nicest, most warmest, most approachable person. I kid you not. There's a blogger in Singapore. Her name's Tina Gan. She's the Red Dot Diva. That woman gets everyone she wants to talk to. I honestly just want to be her apprentice because, and she does it. She's very nice. She's very, warm, approachable, and fun, and loves the people that she's going to talk to. And I am in awe. And there's a couple other people like her out there that they're just the nicest people. So, again, this goes back to the empathy. Why wouldn't you want to talk to a nice person?
Yeah.
They're going to, there's no barrier to it. If you're going to be at an event, that's why you're there anyway, is to kind of put yourself out there. So sure, why not? But as nice as I am, as warm as I am not her level of awesome. And so it's occasionally it's her as well as a couple other people, and I see what they do, and I see the people that they talk to, and I'm just like, I bow to your awesome kung fu. This is so beyond, what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Good answer. Now, okay. The other part of that though is, let's say that he's in Pennsylvania. He's not making it out to C2E2, but he might want to really interview somebody who's there or not even there. What about reaching out? Would you suggest going to the publicist, writing to their agent, asking the questions that way, and just saying hey, I would love to do a Skype interview with this person? Or is that kind of, you stand a much lower chance in that respect?
Well, reach out to the publicist first if they have one. I can't imagine any publicist in regardless saying no to that in any regard. They may say it's going to be, I've seen people at, kind of A-list level say, I'm really sorry, I'm filming for the next 6 months. If you want to do it in 6 months, we can schedule it. And that's also be memorable. And this goes back to, everything. Again, none of this is brain surgery. And if you played the game when you're, 4 or 5 of, hey, look at me, that's all this is. So when you are emailing someone, you want to make sure that subject line is interesting and that it's not just, hey, such and such wants an interview. Maybe that's the first time is, hey, I'd like an interview. The second time it needs to have some humor. One of the tricks that I do a lot is making sure that if you're contacting someone for a second try, change the subject and then put, literally the number 2 and the second attempt. And then often by the third attempt, somebody interacts because they just feel guilty. They're like, this person's emailed me 3 times. Like, why have I not responded? So, and that's again, but it goes back to it of empathy that you have to pay attention to what this person's doing. And my favorite is, you need, in this beautiful information that we have, that we have access to now, the amount of times people don't use it kills me. I had someone say, I haven't gotten this, I haven't gotten a response from someone. I said, all right, are you friends with them on social media? Do you follow them? And
right.
Yeah. Well, have you looked at, this trade show is going on at the same time. I bet you they're there. Sure enough, they were. And so you have to say, okay, when is a good time for me to actually contact this person? If you're looking to contact someone who's filming, who's a film star, you need to know if they are actually on location or not. If you are talking about a comic person, the busy times. The busy time has started in a lot of ways because San Diego Comic-Con is unfortunately fast approaching. So if they are, in crunch time for something that needs to come out before then, and maybe it's a little early right now, but, in a couple months, I would be very cautious about who I'm contacting because, there's a production that has to happen. So.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Liz, that is going to do it for this session, but I am going to have you back on. Aside from the conversations you and I are going to have off of here, I am going to have you back on for sure if you'll come back.
Yes, of course.
Awesome.
Are you kidding? It's fun.
Excellent. Well, and we're going to talk at C2E2 too. So that's going to be good. And this is the chance. I want you to give, we've mentioned the Sphinx group, but I want you to give any information, websites, ways to contact you. I really encourage people to reach out to you because I've gained insights and I am definitely going to be using you for our company and suggesting you to other people. I want to share this. I want people to find you. So give your information out there.
Yes, www.sphinxgroup.com, and I'm going to spell that out because no one can spell it themselves. It's okay. It's SPHINX, the word group spelled out.com.
Excellent. And that also has your contact, like your email. Do you have Twitter or anything
absolutely.
Like to give out?
Let me give out my direct email is LYS again, at sphinxgroup.com. And my phone number is 773-789-9853. And feel free to ask questions. I'm happy to talk with people, no cost involved, and, just kind of be a soundboard.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you again, Liz. I really do look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
That sounds great. And thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. There were so many great takeaways in this episode. It really gave me perspective on what PR and marketing is and what it can do for us as content creators. I hope to have Liz back again soon. I'm sure she'll be up for it. In the meantime, get on those best practices. Try some of the things she suggested. If you have questions for me or for Liz, you can contact Liz through her website, which is sphinxgroup.com, sphinxgroup.com. Or you can write to me and I'll pass it on to her at southgatemediagroup@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at @rsouthgate. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Snapchat. Just look for SMG Pods or Southgate Media Group. That's it, everybody. Until next time, keep creating.